Thanks for joining me for another yoga sequence. And here to teach you a practice today. I created this practice for a specific student with a specific injury. It doesn't mean that you can't benefit from it. The specific injury was a chest muscle injury, so we won't be doing any downward facing dog. Particular poses that if I were working with her directly, we would experiment and see what's okay and what's not okay. So I'll kind of talk you through those things. So even if you don't have a chest muscle injury, you're going to benefit from this practice. All of my sequences are designed that way, even if they're very specific. They're well-rounded and available to everybody. So when we come to a place where, if you know downward facing dog and want to practice it, I'll let you know. I won't be teaching it, so keep that in mind. If you're not familiar with it, then just go ahead and do what we're working on, or come into a child's pose if that's more appropriate for you. And just a reminder that I'm continuing to do my weekly classes. As long as I'm healthy and have the energy to do them, I'm going to continue recording these once a week. Sometimes I'll do a second one, but for now, I'm trying to guarantee once a week. Know that I'm doing them for free, and I will always offer that. Though I recently had a really lovely student ask me if she could pay me for my classes. And I'm doing this because I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to love yourself. And this is the little bit that I can put out into the world right now, what I can help to make it a little bit of a better place. That being said, if you do want to donate to my teaching, you're welcome to do that. I have all the details on my website, which is gofitgirl.com. So if you go there, you click on the classes, and then you'll scroll down just a little bit and I have information about that. I have a Venmo account set up, which I'll also have in the summary of my YouTube recording once it's complete. And I have kind of what will happen with the money that you donate to me. Some of it will go to local charities. So feel free to read some more. If you have questions, you're welcome to email me at the real gofitgirl@gmail.com. Also a reminder to always honor your body, whatever that means for you. Today is different than yesterday, and it'll be different from tomorrow. So if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. I give modifications. I can make adjustments even though I'm not there with you personally to do this class. But I will give suggestions along the way. And if you know better, then you do what's best for your body. And if what's best for your body is to not do it, then you don't do it. The props that you'll need today. So I like to teach with a lot of props. I know that most people don't have props at home. So I always have alternatives, and I'll teach you with whatever you may have on hand. But if you do have yoga props, 1 or 2 blocks, we'll probably really only need 1 today. But when I go to yoga class and a teacher tells me 1 block, I always grab 2. Because you just never know. So if you have 2 blocks, grab 2. If you only have 1, get your 1 block. A yoga strap and a yoga blanket. And of course, if you don't have those things, the alternatives are, for the yoga strap, you could use the belt from your robe or a necktie. The blanket can be a beach towel or bath towel because they're bigger. And then for blocks, you can use books. So grab what you need. If you need to pause this to get props, please do that. And I'm going to move back with my props onto my mat, and we'll get started. So I just like to have everything available. If you don't, it's okay. We can always make adjustments with that. But just know that it's nice to have them nearby, easier access. The first pose we're going to come into is called constructive rest. So you'll come to lie down on your back. I always like to have a folded blanket under my head as a pillow. For most of us, we kind of sit hunched forward. So this can help to release your neck, your shoulders, not put so much strain and discomfort on your body. Come to lie down in your constructive rest, which means your knees are bent and the soles of your feet are touching the mat. Place your feet about hip distance apart. So if you feel around in the front of your hips, those bony protrusions, that's hip distance. So you don't want your legs or your feet really far out. You want your hips, your knees, and your feet to be basically in a line. And you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Hands and arms can be placed wherever is comfortable for you. And just start to notice your inhales and your exhales. If it would feel good for you, inhale as deeply as possible, but don't go to any extreme. And as you exhale, let out a sigh. That feels good. Do it again. One more time. And just stay here for a few moments in silence. As your mind wanders, come back to your breath. Just notice your inhale as your body physically moves with your inhale. You rise, you get deeper, you get your ribs widen, and as you exhale, it all softens. That's when you let go. Hug your right knee into your chest. Hug your left knee into your chest. And if it's not easy for your hands to reach on your shins, you can always bring them behind your knees, at your thighs, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm going to rock a little side to side, starting to spread your low back onto your mat. Set your right foot down, set your left foot down. Extend your legs out long on your mat. We're going to come into a pose. I'm going to move my block out of the way so you can see better. Come into a pose called Banana Asana. So you're bringing your body into the shape of a banana. So you're going to start to step your feet as wide as your mat. And then depending on how your upper body's feeling, so I mentioned that this sequence was for someone with a chest muscle injury, but this can be an issue if you have shoulder problems. So if it's not easy to have your arms here, you could have them here. You could also not have the upper body in this pose. So start to move your right foot towards your left foot. And then check in with your upper body. You could just kind of scooch your shoulders over, your shoulder blades to that side, and your arms could stay at your chest or your belly. Maybe one arm comes over, maybe the other. So for me, this side is not so good on one shoulder, so I adjust a little bit. So you're going to feel this one side of the body really long and opening. And even though on this side of the body, on your left side, you're closing up a little bit, you still want to have length. So you don't want to just like crunch into it. You want to have that lift and opening. So you can imagine here that you're breathing into your right lung a little bit more than the left. And slowly come back to what feels like neutral for you. Then step your feet as wide as your mat again. This time slide your left foot towards your right. And then check with your upper body. Perhaps this side is more okay, like it is for me, to move over, having the arms overhead. Perhaps your arms stay in a different position, or you don't even do the upper body. You could just do the lower body if this is too much for the upper body. So check in, and your whole torso stays on the mat. So you don't want to like roll over into this pose. It's getting this nice long stretch, this time on the left side, but make sure that the right side doesn't close up. Breathe into your left lung just a little bit more than the right. And start to shift back to neutral for your body. Taking a moment here. And then you'll bring, if your feet are farther out, bring them back to be more about hip distance. You're going to press through your heels like you're standing on your feet. If this isn't okay, because it's shooting something up to the low back or something else going on, you could more press through the ball of your foot. But if you're okay, you're going to press more through the heel. And then you're going to decide, do you reach your arms up, partially over, all the way over? Maybe it's best for you to just have your hands on your shoulders, and almost like you're trying to reach through your elbows. So wherever you're comfortable, you'll have your hands. You want to make sure that your back doesn't arch a lot, but you don't want to press it down either. You just want to really feel length in your belly. So you can imagine that you're pressing through your heels, and that line of energy is coming all the way up through the core, through the crown of your head, out your fingertips in Tadagi Mudra. It's either the oldest or one of the oldest yoga poses. Full body stretch here. Make sure that you're not holding your breath. I tend to do that in this pose. Relax your body. Bring your arms back down by your sides. Step your feet back to your mat. Hip distance apart, constructive rest. If you have a strap or a belt or a necktie, get that. If you don't have any of those things, that's okay. You can do this pose without it. Hug your right knee into your chest. If you have a prop, you're going to put it around the arch or the ball of your foot. You get to decide. If you don't have it, you're going to bring your hands behind your hamstrings and hold on to the back of your thigh. And then you're going to extend your leg up long. So you would just be here with your hands behind your thigh if you don't have a strap of some sort. If you have a strap, you hold on to one right hand will on the right side, left hand on the left side. You're going to reach through your heel or the ball of the foot. If you have some sort of strap, you want your leg to be straight. So if you're here, I want you to move your foot and leg farther away so that you can straighten. And then perhaps you bring your toes a little closer to your face. You could keep your other knee bent, or you could extend that leg out long. If you do that, it intensifies the stretch on the leg up in the strap, so you might have to move it. This leg needs to be active, so you can't just have it flopped. You've got to press through that heel or ball of that foot as well. Both legs are equally active. Bend your right knee, remove your strap, hug your knee in for a moment, and then extend your leg out long. Both legs out long and relax, and just take a moment to notice the two sides, anything that's changed, shifted, perhaps still the same. Step your feet back to your mat. Hug your left knee into your chest, taking a moment here, taking your strap or your hand behind your thigh. Extend up long, reaching long and tall, pressing through the heel or the ball of your foot, making an adjustment if you need to. Make sure that you're not gripping on for dear life onto that strap. Can you let go a little bit, but still give your foot and leg support? And whether or not you extended on the first side with the other leg does not matter. This side is different, so check in. You can always extend, pressing through the heel or the ball of the foot. If it's too much, you bend that knee again, bring your foot back to your mat. Checking in with your breath, feeling the stretch in your hamstrings, the back of your calf, your shin. This is a full low body stretch from the core all the way through the toes. I like to say this is the pose that makes you taller. Bend your knee, release your strap, hug your knee in for a moment. Set your foot down and extend both of your legs out long. Just taking a moment here. Bend your knees again, bring your feet to your mat, roll over to one side. Just take a moment here before you press yourself up to seated. Trying to bring your head up last. So don't let your head leave, let it follow. We're going to set up for a heart opener, which is one of my favorite poses. I don't even remember the last time I did this, and I definitely need it right now. I'm feeling things going on in my shoulders and my neck. I'd love to get a massage right now, but I will have to wait. So whether you have a blanket or a towel, you're going to open it up. So that's where I would open my blanket. And I have yoga blankets. You might have a different kind of blanket. If you're using a blanket that you have at home, you have to make sure that it's not like a super bulky blanket. That's fine to cover up at the end for Shavasana, but you want one that folds easily and nicely. So if you don't feel like it's working for you, you can always switch to a towel of some sort. So if I were using my beach towel or my pool towel, I would come to this position with it. And it's all bumpy and lumpy. I don't like that. And then from one of the short ends, you'll make a roll. So it's okay if it's smaller than a yoga blanket. I already know if I roll my blanket up, it's too high, so I only go about halfway. So this would probably be okay on my back. You might find that you have to adjust it. So the goal of the heart opener is to really open up your chest. So it's a little bit of a back bend. It's a heart opener, so it can be vulnerable. So keep that in mind as we come into this practice. But a lot of times people don't set it up in the right spot, and I cannot adjust you here. So I'm going to show you the lower tips of your shoulder blades, which if you had something shooting out of your armpits, that's the spot. So lower tips of your shoulder blades, see where that is? A lot of times people put this up too high. So the nice thing about my blanket is I have a little bit of cushion for my head. You might find that you need more support for your head and you get another towel or another blanket. So you come into constructive rest. Come on down to the blanket. So I'm going to show you it. This is definitely not in the right spot. It might feel good, but this isn't the goal of it. So your shoulder blades need to be higher. Lower tips of the shoulder blades. Whenever I adjust them, they're like, I thought you said the shoulder blades. I said, no. Lower tips of the shoulder blades. So I'll show you this. I'm going to crash into something. This is way too far. Oh, that's very intense in my back. So you might have to adjust. Even if you think, wow, I'm right at the lower tips of my shoulder blades, but this doesn't feel right. Rock up a little, rock down a little. You might still feel like you have strain in your neck. For me, since I have another blanket, I would put another blanket under my head. You might not have that, so maybe make the roll smaller. Your arms should be able to easily come above your roll. I like to keep my knees bent, feet on the mat. I actually step my feet wide and allow my knees to come closer together. You may decide to extend your legs out long. So you might feel a little bit of a stretch here in your chest, your shoulders. If arms just don't feel right, you could rest them on the roll and have your hands on your heart or your belly. So most of us in our lives, we hunch forward. I know I do. We sit at computers, we drive, we look at devices. It's probably worse now. And so this does the opposite. This is putting your body in extension. This is a back bend, a heart opener. So maybe intense physically because your body's not used to being in this position. It also may be intense emotionally because your heart is really open. And you might be having a lot of emotions right now. So if you find this is too much, you can always place your hands on your heart. If you have another towel or blanket, you could place that on your chest for a little bit of weight. And if you just need to come out early, then you come out early. I like to hold this for 5 minutes. We won't be doing that today. So if you find that this is really delicious and you want to keep doing this, you can pause, set your phone, set the timer on your phone, and come into this pose. This is all something you could do on your own, just this pose for 5 minutes before you go to bed, or 5 minutes when you just need a break. Maybe you're working from home and you need to take a break. You need to get in another room from your partner, from your children, from whoever you live with, animals, parents, roommates, whatever it might be. If your legs are out long, bend your knees and bring your feet to your mat, coming back to constructive rest. Roll over to one side off of your roll. Press your hands into your mat. Slowly come up, bringing your head up last. Just take a moment here. You might notice a huge change. Maybe this is enough for you and you press pause. You come back for this practice at another time. One of my favorite poses Okay, we're gonna come into a tabletop, onto all fours. A lot of people need or like padding under their knees. I'm not one of those people, so I'm not gonna use one, but if you want some padding, put it in the middle of your mat and come onto all fours in your tabletop. So as you come into your tabletop, check in, starting with your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. For some of you, you may find this 90-degree angle is just way too much. And so you can step your hands a little forward. You can make them a little wider as well if you need. So find the right spot for you. If you have blocks, you could use your blocks under your forearms. That's what I do sometimes. My right wrist has tendonitis and bothers me. So at times that's what I need. But you want your hands active if you come into this position with your blocks. All right, so we're going to move through cat and cow. The next time you exhale, start to round your low back. So you're starting with your pelvis, moving up your spine, head and neck are last. And as you inhale, you start to turn your tail up. So start with the pelvis, moving up your spine, your shoulders, opening your chest, slightly lifting your head and neck. And go back and forth to your own breath. So when you exhale, you're pressing that air out. And as you inhale, you're taking that air in. Make sure that your fingers are spread wide on your mat. As you come into your cat, you're closing up. And as you inhale, opening up into a back bend. Do one more round. Once you're complete, come back to stillness. Neutral spine, neutral neck. From here, we're going to come into what's called puppy pose. If you prefer to do a downward facing dog, you'll set up for downward facing dog. Puppy pose is in between child's pose and downward facing dog. So step your hands a little forward, shift your hips back a little. So for me, I have to be really mindful this is not great in one of my shoulders, so I can't go super deep into this pose. If this is the first time doing it, don't overdo it. Also make sure you're not arching your back. It should stay pretty neutral here. And then come back a little bit. Step your hands forward. Shift back. That's okay. Again, hands a little forward. They might even come off your mat. Shift back. So keeping, like reaching from your belly. So make sure that your tail's not lifting up like we were doing in the cat and the cow. Keep length in your spine like you would do if you're coming into a downward facing dog. Make sure you're not just holding your head up. It's a little bit in between. My ears aren't quite between my arms. Just not going to happen. That's pretty intense for my shoulders. If you're in downward facing dog, bring your knees down to your mat. If you're in puppy, start to lift your hips back up. Bringing your hands back under your shoulders. We're going to make our way up to standing in Tadasana mountain pose. So I've been trying different setups for my mat and the camera to have the best angle for you. And I found if I step back a little bit, you'll be able to see me more. So I'm off of my mat just for you to be able to see me. Please, for yourself, stay on your mat. Coming into Tadasana, your mountain pose. So starting with your feet hip distance apart, feel around for those bony protrusions in your hips, and if you could draw a line down your leg, the line would go right through the middle of your ankle. Lift your toes up and spread them like your fingers, and then set them down. Feel the lift in your belly, up through your chest. Tadasana, mountain pose. I usually allow students to have their arms wherever they want, but turn your palms forward, what's traditional anatomical Tadasana, and just notice how that helps to open your chest and widen your shoulder blades. From here, bring your hands to your hips. You're going to inhale nice and tall. On your exhale, you're going to hinge at your hip creases. So don't round to come into this pose. I'll come side profile so you can see me better. I don't want to see this. I want your spine to be long, reaching again. We're just going to come into a half fold. So your hands stay at your hips or on your thighs. Next time you inhale, again, reaching from your belly through the crown of your head to lift back up to standing. I'll shift back again, back to your Tadasana. So feeling all four corners of your feet connecting with your mat. You're going to inhale your arms up. If this isn't okay, you can always bring your hands here or keep your hands at your hips. Anytime, that's okay. Inhaling up, exhale, keep reaching. So reach through your feet, out your fingertips. Then you're gonna bring your right arm down and you're gonna bring your left arm up and over. So like that side stretch we were doing lying down in the banana pose, same idea, so lifting and opening, not crunching here, so still having a lift on your right side. Inhale back up, exhale, inhale. On your exhale, bring your left arm down, right arm up and over. And this is where I have to adjust because of my shoulder, but I can still have this reach and lift, reaching through my elbow. You could still have that reach and lift, having your hand at your hip. So whatever you need to do to adjust, please do. Inhale back up. Exhale, reach your arms back down. Step your feet wide. You're going to rotate your right foot and leg 90 degrees. So make sure it turns all the way, none of this half, all the way. And then the back foot's going to, the heel's going to kick back just a little and bring your toes in slightly. And then you're going to start to aim your knee toward your between your second and third toe. So if it starts to fall in, externally rotate, adjust your knee. Bring your hands to your mid-ribs to turn to face toward the long edge of your mat. From here, you're going to reach your arms out to shoulder height. Unless that's not okay, then bring your hands to hips. Bird wings. I call this sassy warrior. So if you prefer to have your hands at your hips, sometimes you just need one or the other. Reaching through your fingertips. So imagine from your shoulder blades where we have that roll, where we have that opening. So we're not coming into a back bend here, but it's helping us to elongate. So imagine from your lower tips of your shoulder blades, they're reaching out through the fingertips. Warrior two. Bring your hands back down, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet, and then go to the other side. Rotate your left foot leg, go all the way, that 90 degrees. Kick your back heel back, toes come in slightly. Lift all your toes up, spread them as much as you can, and then place them back on the mat. Start to bend your knee. Make sure that it's not going out or over your heel. So if it's too far over, you need to adjust, widen your stance, do the best thing for you. But this is weight bearing, you need to keep your knees safe. Upper belly and chest turn toward the long edge of your mat. So your hips are slightly one direction, chest the other. Inhale, reaching up, adjusting your arms, however, whatever place may need to be. In this warrior two on this side, sometimes my back shoulder bothers me, so I make an adjustment. You decide where your gaze goes. Typically it's over the front middle finger. It could be straight forward from your torso or at your back hand. Sometimes looking at that back hand is a good idea because you think you know what's going on back there, but you do not. It's surprising. Bring your hands back down, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet, and step your feet back together into Tadasana, your mountain pose. From here, we're going to make our way into Vrikshasana, your tree pose. This is balance. If you know balance is shaky, make sure that you're near a wall. Nothing wrong with that. You can have a hand nearby. You could have your glutes nearby, the side nearby, whatever works for you. So again, you want to root through all four corners. So maybe lift those toes, press them back into the mat. So you want to feel even here. You don't want to be more forward or back. So see if you can imagine that your feet are cars and there's 4 tires on each car, and you want to evenly press through your tires. And then shift your weight over to your right foot and leg as you bend your left knee. You're going to turn your toes out. And then you're going to bring your heel to your shin. This might be your tree today. Or you might bring your whole foot to your shin. Never on your knee, or you might bring your foot to your thigh. Wherever you are, make sure your hips are square forward. So if your knee's here, but you're all wonky, that's not good for your body. So it doesn't matter where your foot is. Find a good spot. Press into the standing foot. Lift through your belly. Your chest is open. Your spine is long. Your hands can be at heart center, at your hips, out to the side, or traditional tree pose reaching up. Again, checking in with shoulders. I prefer my hands at heart center. Lock your gaze on something that'll help you with your balance, preferably not looking at me because I'm moving. If you're doing yoga with somebody else, probably don't look at them either. Keep your breath flowing. Don't hold it. It's really easy to hold your breath in balance work. If your hands aren't at heart center, bring them back. Release your foot and give it a good shake. Come back to your Tadasana, rooting through your feet. The feet are the roots of your body. Shift your weight a little bit over to left foot leg. So that doesn't mean popping your hip out. That's just a shift. Everything stays. Your trunk is nice and strong and helps you to lift. Turn your toes out and then decide where your foot's going to go on this side. It might be very different from the first side. Keep your hips square forward. Lift through your belly. Bring your hands to the best spot for you. Find that spot, that drishti, to lock your gaze to help you with your balance. Connect with your breath. Feel your inhale as it fills your tree with oxygen, and as you exhale, releasing. And perhaps today is a windy day or your tree has root rot. No big deal if you're wiggling, wobbling, falling over. Those muscles are working to get stronger, and that's important. Your hands are on at heart center, bring them back, release your foot, and give it a shake. And shake everything out, yeah. All right, we're gonna come back down onto the mat in a tabletop. We're just gonna be here for a moment, but if your knees are really sensitive and you need support, then get them. Then get the support. If not, it's just set up to come down onto your belly. So extend your legs out long, stack your hands. You can rest your forehead, your chin, or a cheek here. Scooching over so you can see me. This is Makarasana, crocodile pose. I just have my head lifted so that you can hear me better. This is a baby back bend right here. If this is your preference during this part of the practice, feel free to stay here. Otherwise, we're going to set up for a cobra pose. So bring your hands under your shoulders. If your hands are right under your shoulders, your elbows pop up off the mat like cricket legs. If you can, try to bring your elbows toward each other. Your forehead or chin are still on the mat. Press the tops of your feet into the mat, so don't curl your toes under. Press your toenails into the mat, your knees into the mat. Lift your belly towards your spine. Next time you inhale, start to peel your chest up off the mat, keeping your neck long. So don't jut your chin forward. Keep your neck long on all four sides. Gaze a little bit in front of your hands. Next time you exhale, come back down. Stacking your palms or just resting your cheek on your mat. You can wiggle out your hips a little bit to help release your low back. This time we're going to set up for locust pose. If you find this is not okay, you can come back to cobra or stay in your crocodile. You're going to reach your arms down by your sides, hands are by your hips, your palms will face toward the midline. Again, press your toenails in the mat, your knees into the mat as best you can. Lift your belly toward your spine. Move your shoulders about an inch toward your ears and then up toward the ceiling. Lift your legs up. If that's okay, you can lift your arms up. If that's okay, start to peel your chest up. You can just do one of these, two of these, or all three. Opening your chest. So again, not jutting your chin forward. Keep your neck long. Next exhale, come on down. Stacking your palms, resting your chin, forehead, cheek. You can wiggle out your hips. You also have the option to bend your knees and do some windshield wipering. And from here, make your way into a child's pose. So press yourself up. You decide how wide your knees are. Your big toes can touch or come close together. You sit back on your heels. You drape your torso over your thighs and bring your forehead down to the mat. If your forehead doesn't reach, you could stack your palms or fists. If you have a block or a book, you could use that to support your forehead. If this is not okay at all, then you come to lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest. If you're in your child's pose, bring your hands by your knees, press yourself up to seated. If you're on your back, roll over to one side, press your hands into the mat to come up to seated. And then we are going to be seated. So I want you to sit on something, your towel, your blanket. And when you come to sit, you're going to sit right at the edge. So you almost feel like you're falling off. And that allows your pelvis to move slightly forward to help neutralize your spine. So most of us kind of sit like this. So this helps to allow the body to be more natural with its length, with being tall, with sitting well. If sitting cross-legged is not okay for you, you can have your legs out long, you can have your knees bent, your feet on the mat, any variation. So just make sure you're comfortable. If you're cross-legged, just notice, well, I'll have you notice in a moment, but notice what leg is in front. You probably didn't even think about it. That's okay. That's part of our yoga practice, noticing those things. So sitting well for a moment. Start to tilt your right ear towards your right shoulder. So don't bring the shoulder up. Allow it to be relaxed. So you start to feel a stretch on the opposite side of the neck. And then just a little bit, start to bring your chin down a little, and then bring it up a little. So it's a small, subtle movement here. Maybe you find a spot that you want to focus on, and so you stay there. Focus your breath in that spot. Lift your head back up. Maybe do a little wiggle and jiggle. You're going to inhale tall. On your exhale, you're going to bring your left hand to your right knee, your back hand behind you to come into a twist. So you want to keep that lift as you start turning. So start to turn from the belly button, low belly, upper belly, chest, and then shoulders. Your back hand, reach your fingertips or your palm if it reaches into the mat to help elongate. So you're not leaning back into that. It's helping you to stabilize your twist, to stay tall, and to hold it. Head and neck can turn if that feels okay, but you do not need to. Next time you exhale, come out of your twist. Excuse me. Inhale tall once again. On your exhale, hinge forward at your hip creases to come into a forward fold, which might look like this or deeper. Wherever you are is where you should be. Inhale back up. Notice the leg that's forward if you're sitting cross-legged. Step your legs out, give it a wiggle, jiggle, and then bring the other foot and leg forward. If you're not sure, it's the side that feels weird. That's the side you likely were not on. Sitting well again, so you might notice a difference because different hip forward, and that's okay. If it's completely uncomfortable or causing pain, go back to a position that does not do that. This side you're going to tilt, this time you'll tilt your left ear to your left shoulder. Start to feel that stretch. And then start to move your chin down a little. Move it up a little. The side might be way more intense than the first side. So notice that. Notice if you're holding your breath. Your breath is a great indicator if you've gone too far. If you stop breathing or it changes, pay attention to that and listen to it. It's telling you if you've gone too far, if you need to adjust, to modify. Bring your head and neck back up to center. Give it a little jiggle. Maybe let's do a couple of shoulder rolls here. All right. Inhale tall once again. On your exhale, start with your belly button, bringing your right hand to your left knee, your back hand into the mat. Keep that length as you keep moving in your twist. Low belly, upper belly, chest, and then shoulders. Keep the length. Decide if your head and neck feel okay to turn. This side feels better for me than the first side. Make sure that you're not hunching to come into this. You want to be nice and tall. So even if your hand won't reach, you could just extend it out behind you. My fingertips barely reach the floor. On your next exhale, come out of your twist. Inhale, tall once again. On your exhale, hinge forward, back into a forward fold. So you want to keep length in your spine. You don't want to hunch over. So if that means that you look more like this in your forward fold or even this, then that's where you should be. If you're sitting cross-legged and the other leg is forward, you might notice you don't go as deep. It's more intense. You go deeper. Just notice whatever you notice. Feel what you feel. Next time you inhale, start to come back up. Allow yourself to exhale. Extend your legs out long once again. Do some wiggle, jiggle. Even bend your knees. Have your hands behind you, either fingertips out to the side. I think that's best, or forward. And then do some windshield wipering. Moving your knees from one side and the other, so you inhale up. Exhale to the other side. Come back to center. We're going to make our way back onto our backs. So come to lie down once again. Don't have a blanket under your head quite yet. So if you don't have a block, you're either going to use a book or books or your blanket. We're going to come into a supported bridge. So nothing under the head. We want to keep the natural curve of the neck. So for some people, I know that kind of hurts their head. So you could have a thin amount of blanket. If you wanted a blanket under your head, you want to make sure there's still space between your neck and what you're lying on. So you could use some blanket. Remember, you could use a blanket. I'll show you with blanket first. Block would work the same way as a book. Starting in constructive rest. Feet hip distance apart. Press your feet in the mat, all four corners to lift. And then with the blanket, you'd slide it under. You make sure it's under your hips, your sacrum. It can be a little bit under your low back, and you rest down. I'm going to press through my feet, lift again, so don't roll off of it. This is what I tell my students not to do to get a prop. If you find something far away, roll over and get it. Then you don't pull any muscles or do anything weird in your body. So coming to constructive rest with your block or your book, press your feet into the mat to lift. When you slide under, it doesn't go under your low back. It goes under your hips, your sacrum, your pelvis. So you might need to adjust a little bit. Check if you do have something under your head, that your neck has its natural curve. This is a supported bridge pose. Another one of my favorites. It's an inversion as your head is slightly below your heart. It's a back bend. It's a heart opener. It's not as intense as that one we started with. This is a great restorative pose. This is another one you could do for 5 minutes before bed when you need a break. Press your feet into the mat. Lift your hips up. Move your support out of the way. Slowly come down one vertebrae at a time. Hips back to your mat. Taking a moment here. Roll over to one side. Press yourself back up. And it's time for Shavasana, final relaxation pose. So the longer the Shavasana, the better, I believe. I know that a lot of times when we're in Shavasana, our minds are going crazy, and it might be more so now than normally, and that's okay. You're supporting your body, you're allowing yourself to be supported, to be calm, to be quiet, and that'll help with the mind, even though it might be feeling crazy. If it's just too much for you, then do the few minutes that we do together in this video. If you want to do longer, I'll show you setup. Then you can pause, you set your phone for 5, 10, 15, whatever you need. You can also just do Shavasana. You could do Shavasana before you go to bed. It can be a nice pose to practice to help kind of bring you down to a level you need to be before you go to sleep. So my Shavasana, what I call my ultimate Shavasana, is I like support under my head, support under my knees, and a blanket covering me. Even if you're somewhere warm, you may find that your body temperature will drop. That happens a lot of times with restorative poses. So I have all the props. So I have a bolster I can put under my knees, but if you don't have a bolster, you could take a blanket, you could take pillows, you could take one of your towels and roll it up, just like we did for that roll for the heart opener, though this one can be bigger. So you could use a rolled blanket as your bolster. It's nice to have it under your knees. It helps to release your low back. It just feels good. So come to lie down, making any adjustments you need to. You want to bring yourself to be as comfortable, as supported. And that might be just lying flat on your back. For some people, that's really comfortable. It's not for me. Most of us can't lie on a hardwood floor or a floor with no support for more than 5 minutes. So you might be okay for a short Shavasana, but why not give yourself the best love you can right now? Supporting your knees, supporting your head, your neck, hands and arms wherever is comfortable for you, covering yourself with a blanket. If you have an eye pillow, mine's somewhere, you could use that. If you want to close out or block out some of the light that might be in your room, you could just take a washcloth and place that over your eyes as well. And so for a moment, bring your attention back to your breath. Just noticing your inhales and exhales as they naturally occur in your body. Excuse me. When you find your mind wandering, you come back to your breath. Simple as that. Noticing your inhale, noticing your exhale. Start to deepen your breath and taking that fuller, longer, deeper inhale. Letting out that exhale. Start to move your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet, your wrists and your ankles. Maybe you want to stretch or move your head side to side or hug your knees in. Whatever sounds really amazing and delicious for your body. Eventually, you'll bend your knees, taking your time. Don't feel hurried or rushed. And you roll over to one side. Don't press yourself up immediately. Take a breath or two here. Still in this moment of self-care and self-love. When you're ready, you'll press your hands into your mat to lift yourself up, bringing your head up last. Once you're up, find a comfortable seat where you can sit well, sitting on the edge of your blanket, your book, something else. You want to feel the connection of your sit bones and whatever you're sitting on, the length in your spine, your open heart. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze. And bring your hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Pressing your left hand into your right as much as you press your right hand into your left. Keep peace in your mind, keep strength in your body, and keep love in your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. You're welcome to comment below or on any of my social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram, I'm The Real Go Fit Girl. On Facebook and Twitter, I'm Go Fit Girl. You can email me at therealgofitgirl@gmail.com. My email recently changed, so I'm still trying to remember it. If you're interested in my charities that I'm going to support, if you decide to donate, go to gofitgirl.com, click classes, and read more there. You're welcome to email me or message me in any way. I hope you have a lovely day. Take care. Do yoga when you need. Don't do yoga when you need. Just make sure that you do what's best for you. If you have requests for me, please let me know. I'm always looking for ideas that I can share with others. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.